people to view women as assertive, and would actually relate it to being more aggressive than being assertive. And it was a negative connotation, even in an environment like this.
Hey everyone, this is Jen Foster. I'm here with Melanie Johnson. We are from Elite Online Publishing, and we are here because we're going to be interviewing Tonja L. Carter today. She has written a new book that releases today, Take Your Turn, and we have it live on Amazon today for sale for 99 cents. And so we're really excited to interview her, get really deep into the book and find out what it does. So Melanie, do you want to tell a little bit about Tonja and about her book?
So Tonja is amazing. Her book is already trending. You want to get it now because it's 99 cents just for today and I think tomorrow. Then it's going to go to $10. So it's a great time to get it. I have a whole group of friends here that I sent it out last night and they're like, I'm getting it. Oh my gosh, I need this book so much because it really embraces leadership for young women of all ages, really, no matter where you are. If you're real young and you're a teenager or versus a grown woman, you're going to reflect back on some of these things that maybe happened to you when you were young. So let's introduce Tonja. I can't wait to dive in and get some more information on her story.
Awesome. Welcome, Tonja. Let's see, is your video turned on?
She's coming. We saw her before. She's there. So Tonja has spent all this time working on this book. And I love the color of your turtleneck. You told us you were going to wear a bright color. I love it.
Can you hear us?
One of my favorite colors. Yes, I can. You're going in and out just a little bit.
Okay. Well, we can see you and hear you. So let's dive in. Tell us why you were inspired to write this book. Can you hear me okay, Tonja?
Well, it's twofold. The first, yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. It's twofold that I was inspired by to write the book. One, for my own personal reference, is that I felt like I have a lot to share with young women, but I had two daughters of my own, and while they were going through high school, I was wondering, what's out there to make sure that they're not at a disadvantage. And I couldn't find much in literature or resources to provide that kind of support. So at that point, 10 years ago, I thought, maybe I should put something together. Instead, what turned out is that this 10-year-long journey, life got in the way. I set it aside and no one still wrote anything about it. So I decided to go ahead and do that myself. And then just about a year or so ago, there was a lot of activity about the same types of topics on women being concerned about equity and how do we make sure that everyone is prepared, equipped, and ready to lead when the opportunities come. So I took advantage of that and just really stuck to my guns and finished writing the book.
And I love the words that you prepared and equipped. So tell us, there's just so much that you offer in this book. Tell us ways that you feel that you've helped women in this book to be prepared and be equipped.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things is that women are raised from a very young age to be perfect. Young men are raised to be risk takers. As I watched in a TED Talks, it was about you raise young boys to jump off the highest rung on a monkey bars head first, and that's not what women are asked to do. So this book is really about self-discovery and understanding where you find your passions, where you enjoy life, the way potential work opportunities or along those lines, in order for people to start being more comfortable with themselves. It's also about valuing yourself and taking time to focus and recognize that it's okay to invest in yourself or to seek support. We don't live life alone, so we might as well seek the support early on while we're in those formative years, so that we can start to really gather a picture of what the future might hold, what the potentiality has for us, so that we can start to choose as we head into college, even to focus on maybe STEM when it's not typical, work in environments where it's predominantly male. And again, it's okay. You just practice now while you're in your teens, and there's a safety net with the support structure. So
I love that. And the word valuing yourself. So there's two things, and you address valuing yourself and fear in the book, which, think about it, if you grew up where someone was always telling you that you weren't worthwhile, that you're not going to succeed, how do you overcome that? And then walk us through that fear factor of, a lot of times we're afraid to fail, right? And it's the vulnerability part.
that's exactly what I'm referring to. We young ladies often are perfectionists. We want the 100% on the grades. We want, to be all to everybody, to support them in the manner that they, we're pleasers in many cases.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I need people to just step back. And this is a great way to just get exposed to a lot of different things in order to, and have that support structure to make certain that you are saying that it's okay to take a risk, that you're surrounded by people who are going to invest in you, encourage you. And even when someone close to you says, some negative things, you can still create positive talk for yourself. That self-talk is what can guide you to having a more valued feeling internally, but then also surrounding yourself with people who are willing to continue to support that as well. If you're not getting it close at hand, you may need to reach out and seek someone who is a positive influence to do that for you, but not always depend on them. Recognize that you can depend on yourself in the encouragement and continued practice of the things that you can start to figure out. This is what works for me, and being more comfortable as you discover yourself.
Can't hear you for some reason, Melanie. I think you're muted.
One of the many things that I love about your book is that you built in these action-oriented things for the reader to do, because so many times you're reading the book, you're getting all this great content, and then you're kind of overwhelmed of what to do with it afterwards. So talk us through why you did these action items, some examples of what they are. And I just think that's one of the key elements. So you're not just reading, you're doing something to improve your life while you're reading the book.
Absolutely. Actually, the last item that I was talking about is a great segue to that. In one of the chapters, when it's talking about the self-discovery, where you have the opportunity to figure out what's going on, these chapters are in chunks about things that have been determined to be valuable to this particular age group. And upon completing the chapter, reading it, those activities at the back are to help apply what you learned in the small chunks. It allows you to retain the information. And one example is when you're talking about discovering your value, and being able to have that self-talk, it's identifying some small comments you can make to yourself, that a mantra that helps you stay focused on the fact that you are valuable. I know for me, it was, you are more than enough. When things would get overwhelming, but my parents really fed into me that I had certain abilities, even when I felt that I was lacking. But I heard it enough from them that I could then mimic that mantra for myself, and it would get me through a lot of tough times. And many people can do that to overcome maybe some of the negative talk that's coming externally. You can create an internal positive self-talk that can drive you in the right direction.
What do you think some of the biggest challenges are for young women today?
mostly what came up from the survey is that it's lack of opportunity. There is an increased amount of support to be able to lead in high school and practice, but maybe it's a smaller area. Maybe it's rural. Maybe there aren't a lot of activities where there's leadership that's needed. I think that's one of the biggest concerns for the majority. But I also find that young ladies have a tendency to, and actually anyone, to be honest, it's a microwave generation. You want something now. You can get emails and Facebook and Instagram and all of those things. You can get information very, very quickly. And there are times when there's a desire to immediately have the result of what you're looking for versus maybe being patient and getting the information that you need to make a sound decision. So delayed gratification is another item that comes up that I think that this book helps to find the focus or find ways in which to focus by identifying what your super why is so that you can stay on track. You know, what's the most important thing for me to be able to accomplish my goals? And it has to be so important that it will override taking the immediate need versus, or the immediate want over the long-term need.
I love that. And think about, you also talk in the book about emotions. And to me, some of the emotion is mindset. And you're like, hey, emotions aren't bad. So go walk us through that, why emotions aren't bad.
Absolutely. Emotions are natural. And a lot of people don't recognize that's the very first thing that happens with any kind of stimulus. You're going to feel a situation before you may even recognize what's happening to you. That goes into your limbic system. And then in your rational brain, you start to decide, what do I do with the emotions that I'm feeling? Mm-hmm. The difference is that when you recognize them, you can actually make a decision for a more positive outcome based on recognizing what that emotion is. So let's say someone's a very angry person. They exhibit a lot of angry emotions and responses to people, and it seems off. Well, if that person took the time to say, you know, because anger is a real emotion, and sometimes it's very needed and it's very necessary, but sometimes it's not. And the question is, when you feel it, is this the appropriate time to share that? What do I do about it? And I can then manage myself. It's not shutting off and not being yourself. What it is making sure to recognize what it is so that you can convey it properly in the setting that you're in. And when anyone does that, they're going to be more likely to build the kinds of positive relationships in the long run that help to accomplish your goals, again, build relationships and achieve the direction that you're wanting to go.
You know, I think that's so important, is to let those emotions out, because I was just reading, like, when you suppress that you want to cry or suppress the anger, it gets processed in your body and it's going to show up somewhere else in a health issue. That something's going to be like, why do I feel so crummy today? Well, because you suppress this. Or why do I have an ulcer now? So, you know, you've got to let all that out and find a good, healthy outlet for it is really, really important. And kind of going back when you talked about that there's not enough opportunities. And Tonja, I think you're just the queen of, you know, you kind of created your own opportunities just by even doing this book. You're like, well, I'm just going to create my own. I don't need a traditional publishing company. I'm going to go with a self-publishing company. And you talk about thinking outside the box. And as a young woman that, you know, grew up in the 70s and the 80s, I tell the story of how there was really no great girl sports. And my dad let me join the boys track team. And I was the only girl who ever joined the boys track team and got a varsity letter. And then the next thing you knew, 5 more girls joined the track team the next season. So it's making your own opportunity and stepping out of the fear like you talked about. So talk about thinking out of the box and the skills they need to think outside the box.
Absolutely. That's because of the lack of opportunities, you have to get creative sometimes. As a matter of fact, some of the examples in the book pertain to one I'm thinking of in particular is a young man named James. He wanted to do something along the lines of dance, and bring a different cultural perspective about dance to the environment and to a group. It didn't exist, but he wanted to be a leader. He worked with several other people, got support he needed, and he actually created a dance team that became very successful doing halftime shows and all those kinds of things. It's really thinking about, well, if we don't have this, why don't I create it and lead it,
Right.
and have other people join. It means stepping out of your comfort zone to be able to do those kinds of things. And what I love about it is that it makes more opportunity, allows you to practice, and it gets rid of some of those nerves. It builds your confidence, which is a huge part of puberty. We tend to focus on what we lack. Instead, this allows you to build on the confidences in yourself that you're capable of doing these kinds of things. And then when you're in a setting like college, entrepreneurial role, and so on, even in your early years of heading from your teens and later, that you can be successful. And you can, because you've proven you did it while you were practicing in high school.
Well, and I want to encourage people that it sounds great. Everyone's going to expect success. I'm going to do this and I'm going to try it and it's going to be successful. But that's not how life always is. There are setbacks that you have. And sometimes we learn more from our failures to make us successful later on than we do from our successes. And in the book, you talk about the setbacks and how to handle those.
Yes. Life is full of those. and the sooner we recognize that everything is not going to be ideal,
right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, the biggest part of that is you want to make certain that when setbacks happen, that you recognize them for what they are, you take a deep breath, and you keep going. You either learn from the setback, or the setback sets you up for something better. You have to be open to it. And you need to be able to, like I said, step back and kind of look at it as a whole to see, well, what does this mean? What is it? Engage others. Remember, you're not alone. If you have mentors or coaches or someone, you can run things by them. Have a sounding board to be able to talk through maybe what's occurred and what your options may be going forward. And that, to me, is a very healthy way of dealing with setbacks.
Yeah. So let's talk about goal setting. Oh, hey, there's Jen. So I have one more question about the book. Talk about how important it is to set goals and ways to set their goals. Oh, could you hear me?
Yes, goals are always important. And I actually had a question the other day about, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you there? Okay, good.
Yeah,
I can see you.
I can hear you.
So when looking at goals, it's very, very important to make certain that you recognize it's not going to be a be-all, end-all goal. Maybe you have a vision of where you want to go, but it's important to set small milestone steps. They're interim goals, and they should be really, they're called SMART goals, and they're SMART for a reason. You want to be specific about what you're looking for. You want to make certain that it's a clearly measurable direction that you're going, that it's an achievable, very attainable. You can set lofty goals, but that's more of a vision, not really a goal. And you can shoot for the stars and hit the moon, so it's okay. But you do want to make sure that you're seeing progress. So it's going to be important to have a results-based and a timing set in place in order to accomplish those goals. And then when you achieve that particular goal, you set another one, and you continue moving forward. So you don't arrive. And if you think you have, then maybe you should try something, being exposed to something new. So it's not an old and boring direction that you're going. You don't want to get settled. Some people maybe they arrive and they feel comfortable and they're ready to stay where they're at. But that's what the self-discovery is about, making certain that you're striving for the things that are important to you and that you're putting milestones in front of you, SMART goals in front of you, so that you can keep progressing towards that overall goal.
Great. So Jen, welcome back.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I love everything you guys are talking about. The book sounds so amazing. People can go and buy that on Amazon today on sale for only 99 cents. But I wanted to touch on why it's important. The paperback is going to be coming out next week, but it's important to see that she has, after every chapter, you can do an activity page and an application page. So it's kind of like a mini workbook after each chapter to actually work on the different principles that are in this book. So I think it's a great tool for teenagers and even for adults to look at and to help their teenagers to get this information. I think it's awesome.
So tell us a little bit about the publishing process, because you chose us out of thousands of publishers and connected, and walk us through your journey with Elite Online Publishing.
Great. Well, I landed with publishing after doing a lot of research. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what this publishing process was all about. There's so much that I didn't know. And for those who do know me, I spend a lot of time trying to figure things out and plan. I am an absolute planner. I'll probably plan my own funeral one day. But ultimately, it's important to do your research. And when I did that, I saw several publishers that would be really helpful in this process. But there's the traditional publishing route and the self-publishing route, and hybrids in between. And I almost felt like that's what Elite Online Publishing was. It gave me that feeling of the traditional publishing route, knowing that I was getting the information out there faster for people. I wanted to get these in the young ladies' hands as quickly as possible. And the traditional publishing route would have taken much, much longer, and maybe even at the end of it, decide not to be published. And this way I knew that it wasn't a check the block kind of thing, like just get it out there and get it published. I really had some people engaging with me. Jen and Melanie made this process go so smoothly, made me feel confident that the content of my book and the availability of the book would match what my personal goals were. And their team was just phenomenal in making sure that I was looking at branding and things that I'd never thought about in my typical day of being an HR professional. I don't really think about those kinds of things. I'm not an author. I've never written a book before, and I'm not an entrepreneur. And somehow both of those became combined with this relationship that I've had with Melanie and Jen. And now I feel like not only am I publishing in a very relevant and meaningful kind of way, I'm getting it to the people that need to see it. And they've been phenomenal in helping me get that underway and in front of the right people. So thank you very much for helping me do that.
Of course. Awesome. Oh, Melanie, you're muted again.
Go ahead, take the mic, Jen.
Well, I just thought we'd do a couple comments really quick. Thank you, Tonja, for the little testimonial you did there for us. And we've really enjoyed working with you on this book. And there's still more to come, the paperback next week, and more marketing and more social media. You can go like Tonja's page. I'll put that link in the comments as well. But let's take a look at some of the people that have been watching today. We have Andy Falco. Good morning, Andy. And he just loves our background, so that's pretty awesome. And Holly says it sounds amazing. So we have a few people watching, and it's exciting to share the book with everyone today and to get everything going. So tell us a little bit more about like the actual writing process, because I know a few people will just wrap up with a little bit of the writing of a book. So a few people on here maybe wants to write a book, and they don't know where to start and they don't know what to do. So tell us a little bit about your journey on how you wrote the book and how you, kind of the steps of getting it to us and where we're taking it and publishing it.
Sure. Well, the first foray 10 years ago, I realized how lacking it was once I spent time with starting to do the actual writing process and talking to others, I did a survey. A survey was to kind of figure out what should the book focus on. And as I was doing that survey the first time, it turned out that I was a little too narrow in the survey questions. So I got a lot of negative, fear of this, fear of that, fear of peers not wanting a woman to lead, or fear of not being strong enough to be able to be the leader of a group, and those kinds of things. And I walked away with a bad taste in my mouth, not, didn't have enough time to keep writing, but I did. But when I thought back on it and revisited it and dusted everything off, I realized that that's what I had done, is I had kind of had too narrow of a question. So I expanded that question. And for me, getting the survey data from people that would be potentially reading this book, this audience that would be reading it, I needed it to be relevant for them. So my approach again was to take a survey, to focus the survey in all of the areas, both positive and potentially negative, that could impact a young lady from wanting to lead or from actually leading. And I got a great deal of feedback. And for me, that's what tailored each chapter. So once it was determined what the chapter should be about, then I didn't just rely on, because I had a lot of information I wanted to share with young women. I've mentored them and coached them for so long. And I had so many great mentors and coaches for myself. I wanted to be that for as many people as I could, as many young women as I could. I love to help. That's what's so important to me. And that's what this book was really about, is making sure to help others where I could in a very positive fashion. So the next thing that I did in writing these chapters, each of the chapters, is when I wrote what I wanted to say out that, then I reached out to other people for either to confirm or, offer an opposing perspective, so that the reader would be able to put themselves in that picture from the stories that were being captured to convey each of what the chapters were about. They could set themselves as protagonists in each of the stories, and if not all of them, many of them, and it would be information that they could walk away with, a nugget that would be helping them. And each chapter is like that. It's standalone, and it even has, once I got through the writing process, I started getting feedback. Is like, this is great, I could read this, but then how do they retain it? That's when it morphed into more of an interactive, positive guide that could be either used by the reader or also by a parent or a youth leader or sorority leader. Someone can take that information and during lunch and learn, expose them to the information of the chapter, and then they would have activities where they could practice and apply it over time.
That's great. You spent a lot of time analyzing, and I'm glad you were on the same trajectory as a lot of people when you said it took you 10 years to write the book. And I think that happens to so many people that we run across. I've been thinking about this for 10 years, 20 years, and then they're finally doing it. And what do you think about that? Like, do you think you could have done it 10 years ago? Like, if you would have changed your mindset to just get it done?
I could have, but it would not have been what it needed to be. I'm actually glad the time passed, because my initial foray into writing it would have been, I think it would have just been focusing on the negative side of it. And that's not what these young ladies need. They need encouragement. There's so many negative things that are already occurring. Why would I want to enhance that? I would rather enhance the positive feedback, the encouragement, the coaching, the support. That's what's going to help people retain. It's not that you don't learn in negative situations. You learn what not to do. It's still learning. But I would rather, I think I would enjoy a more positive experience of someone encouraging me or being a positive example than in the other direction of being negative or having a bad influence on where I should go or what I should do or who I should be.
Yeah, we already have enough negative in the world where we turn on the news and in our daily lives of people telling us things we can't do or we're not good at. So it's better to have that good self-talk and be positive. We can get enough of that. So, and I just want to share that your book has already hit #1 in the hot new release list. So we're shooting to be #1 in several categories, but you're #1 on the hot new release list. So that's pretty exciting news. We just got that in.
Oh my word. That's
you guys,
awesome.
yeah, that's great news. That's exciting. Awesome.
Yep.
That's great. Well, we'll keep you guys posted throughout the day on Facebook and in the comments on YouTube on where her book is at. We're doing the book launch release today, and we want to get as many people to get her book today. And leave a review after you get the book. Open it up, look at it in your Kindle account or on your iPad or on your desktop. Open that book up and read it and leave a review. And we'd be much appreciated. And Tonja would love to share all this wonderful information that she has accumulated to help your teenagers and to help them with their leadership and their goal setting. So this is awesome. Well, we're going to play the video here at the end that we started with, which is her book trailer video, if there's not any other comments out there. And I did put up the link to go and to like Tonja's Facebook page. So you can go check that out, as well as the Amazon link. You can click on that, or you can just search Take Your Turn by Tonja L. Carter on Amazon as well to get the book. Any last words before we play the video?
It's awesome. Get it now.
I would really quickly. Yes, that would be great. Melanie, I cannot thank you enough for making this such a positive experience for me. I never thought I would be an author, and now I can't. I wish I had met you sooner. This has been an absolutely excellent opportunity of a lifetime.
Well, we love having you part of our publishing family, and that's how we try and make everyone feel when they join us, as they become part of our publishing family. All right. Well, Jen, go ahead and play that awesome video that we created for Tonja, and roll it, and make sure you get the book before it goes back to $10. So get it now at 99 cents.
Very difficult for people to view women as assertive, and what actually related to being more aggressive than being assertive, and it was a negative connotation even in an environment like this.